We kept performing. The other 5,000 screaming fans didn't notice either, at first. We continued to sing, the lights continued to flash, the music continued to play. It was only another few seconds before we realized something was very wrong. A chatter spread through the arena. It wasn't excitement, it wasn't anticipation, it was something else, and we felt it too. Between the flailing arms and stumbling legs, we glimpsed the body of a young girl on the floor. We stopped the show. She was having a seizure. We had never stopped a show before, let alone for something like this, but then something incredible happened. Silence fell across the room. Like a single organism with us at the head, we parted the crowd to guide the paramedics to the injured girl. 5,000 people all had a single purpose, to ensure the well-being of one of their own, and it worked. It took a few songs to bring the energy back up, and after knowing she was okay, for the rest of the show, the audience jumped and sang along, but there was something else. All together, we had lived through something unique, something so much more than a concert, something that made us a community. It was on that night in Salt Lake City that I started to think about the power of that community. To be die-hard AJR fans who, at the drop of a hat, could mobilize for something greater. Even when the tour was over and I returned to school, as I worked on my dissertation, my mind continued to wander toward this idea of community and the thing that brought them together. Having lived and breathed the music industry for the last 15 years has given me some insight into how building a fan base works, especially one as tight-knit and dedicated as ours. And yet, as I wrote about climate devastation across Asia and Africa and the human rights abuses occurring as a result, I started to make a connection between the two. Now, when you hear the phrase climate crisis, many people's first inclination is fear. Fear of the future. Fear of rising waters, fear of wildfires, fear of losing your homes, your cities, your countries. The entire movement has been built on fear. Now, this has worked to inspire some people. It's helped to mobilize a youth movement unlike anything the world has ever seen, but this is not nearly enough for the concrete change that we need. Now, when you hear the names Beyoncé, or BTS, or the Beatles, many people's first inclination is excitement. There's an immediate dopamine rush. Of course, music is fun. It fills you up. It's everywhere. But it also builds a community in a very unique way. Think of it as a ladder. There are music fans that are on the first rung. When they hear a song in the supermarket, they may recognize it, but not necessarily know the artist. If they go home and listen to it again on Spotify or Apple, they move up a rung. They may listen to 3 or 4 other tracks, save them to their library, up another rung. They may follow a band on social media, buy a piece of merchandise, go to a show, up, up, up. It just keeps going. This ladder is built on one thing: excitement. The more excited someone gets, the higher up the ladder they're willing to go. And the music industry has crafted their ladder in a brilliant way to align with monetary gain. Over the last few years, I've spent countless hours thinking about how to build this ladder of excitement in a different space. I borrow techniques and strategies from music, from incentives to creative partnerships to community building, in order to construct a new ladder. Today, I share with you something that's already helping to reinvigorate the climate movement: the ladder of engagement. Now, this is not necessarily a new concept. Every charity, campaign, and business has tried to get people more engaged forever. But since we don't have endless time together, I want to share a few of the pivotal rungs of this specific ladder. On the left side, we have some of the music strategies for bringing in new fans and partners and moving them up the ladder. On the right side, we have some strategies for bringing people, businesses, charities, and governments into the climate movement. Now, these climate strategies are not one-to-one across the ladder. Music is really successful at being bite-sized, shareable, emotional. But the strategies on this ladder are deeper more engaging, and highly inspired by the type of engagements we use in music to get people excited. The first rung on our ladder is incentives. In the music industry, we create all different types of incentives for participation. Pre-order an album and you get a discount or a bonus song. Follow us on certain social media platforms for exclusive content. Join our text list to get access to things before anyone else. All of these strategies are designed to move fans up the ladder and put them in groups with other, more engaged, like-minded people. If they do follow us on social media or join the text list, we have easier access to them for future campaigns or even rewards. Let's pause here and look at a simple and easy incentive in the climate space. Sustainable Partners, a nonprofit organization that I founded, focuses on creating incentives for engagement with our work. At the simplest level, much like following on social media, in exchange for subscribing to our podcast, Planet Reimagined, we plant a tree. Now, a tree, to most people, feels huge. It's something permanent, visual, and so clearly connected with climate that why wouldn't I subscribe even if I'm not listening to the podcast? Now, this may seem really simple, one subscription, one tree, but we as an organization now have access to these potential climate activists. These people who are on the very first rung, but have the potential to move up. Think about it this way. We're now inside their phones with important messages while educating them about the climate movement, discussing food, artificial intelligence, sports, fashion, all related to climate. These subscribers are proud that they planted a tree, did something good for the world, so proud that they may share the podcast with others, not just for the content, but because of how the incentive made them feel. Much like with music, where many of the incentives focus on making people feel good about themselves, this does the same thing. They can wear their planted tree like a badge of honor, but we get the better end of the deal. We move them up the ladder. Okay, so those incentives focused on individual engagement, but let's look at another rung on the ladder. Creative partnerships. In the music industry, we do creative partnerships all the time. From Travis Scott's partnership with McDonald's, to major car brands sponsoring tours, to us creating a hot sauce named after our song Bang. There is endless creativity to co-brand, co-market, and co-build something, as long as it makes sense. Especially when touring is not an option, creative brand partnerships are a huge revenue source for musicians, and a great way for partners to reach new audiences. Thinking back to who the partners are in the climate movement, we came up with a concept that was unique, creative, and allowed every partner, from individuals to businesses to charities, to get something out of it. The campaign is called Time for Change. Imagine, you click to watch a video on YouTube. Before the video plays, there's an ad, of course. After 5 seconds, you have the option to skip it, but if you don't skip it and watch the full 20 seconds, you could provide a meal to a child in need, pay off medical debt for the poorest communities, donate school supplies to young girls in Haiti, or even pull carbon out of the atmosphere. That 20 seconds of your time meant something good is happening for someone or something in need. To give you some examples, we've run multiple campaigns using this simple idea, and the results have been extraordinary. A campaign with Ticketmaster in 2020 allowed us to plant 100,000 trees in just 3 weeks from people viewing these advertisements. A campaign with the UN Development Program raised $150,000 in just 24 hours. Now, to relate it back to the music side, this campaign is the epitome of individual incentives through partnerships making large-scale change. The corporate partners love it because they get to participate in the climate movement in a very public fashion while still bringing in new potential customers. The climate movement benefits from new partners and more awareness, and people love to feel part of something larger than themselves, a community, especially if it only takes 20 seconds and there's no need to take out their wallet. This type of creative partnership between a brand, a charity, and a person is just the tip of the iceberg of what we can achieve when we rely on each other. Now, this next run, community building, may not feel as exciting as planting trees and watching video content, but as we take cues on our ladder from the music industry, we can't ignore the business side of music. In the music industry, it is very difficult for a song to raise its hand, especially now when everyone can make music in their bedrooms. It's nearly impossible to grow a song or an album to a point where you may get invited to perform it on TV. It's played on radio stations across the world, or it begins to get recognized with press and awards. All of these require building a community that is above and beyond individuals, above and beyond brand partners, and above and beyond any single idea. A radio station won't necessarily play a song unless it shows promise, with streams, sales, and other drivers. Even then, they continuously do their research and will only keep playing it if fans continue to like it. Success at radio can lead to TV bookings. Television understands that radio plays what the listeners want to hear, so they take their cues from other parts of the industry. In the music industry, the press likes to write about successful things and cool things. They scour the internet, but the pinnacle of success is, again, determined by these other gatekeepers. Let me give you an example. Our song Weak has about 1 billion streams around the world.
But I'm weak, and what's wrong with that? Boy, oh boy,
The song is double platinum in the US. That sounds pretty great, right? You may be surprised to hear that it wasn't played very much on the radio. We only performed it on one TV show, and it hardly got any press. The success of the song was fueled by one thing: our evangelizing fans. Now, on the other hand, our single Bang began to convince some of these gatekeepers.
let's go out with a bang.
The first hurdle was radio. Radio took a chance on this song, and it really started to work. A few small stations grew to a few dozen, and before we knew it, we were top 5 on the radio charts with a #1 song on iTunes. Radio took a chance. This chance is what convinced the press to start writing about us, and TV shows to start booking us. It only took one of the gatekeepers to start building this community and create some of this door-opening change for us in the music industry. Now, of course, we need some of this real system-wide change for climate. Millions are already marching and continuously changing minds. Much like our song Weak, it's a grassroots movement. This is a great starting point. Now, on top of the incredible groundswell, we need enough of these gatekeepers to take a chance, like they did with our song Bang. Businesses are starting to make public pledges to be carbon neutral, abiding by the Paris Climate Accord. Some countries are using the Sustainable Development Goals to frame their strategies and guide their achievements. But what we really need are these gatekeepers, policymakers and politicians, more businesses, large and small, plus that wave of individuals. We need just enough of these influential members and structures of our community to do more than make a pledge, to step out and take a chance in a way that will convince others to do the same. You may call it peer pressure, you may call it protecting the bottom line, but just like the songs that you can't get out of your head, we need those champions to take the first step. Now, this first step is doing more than saying, I believe that climate is a problem. We are way past that. We need them to play this song on the radio now. Returning to our ladder, the more excited people are, the more they move up the ladder. This process is about getting people excited enough to form groups that together end up changing the system. This we already knew. It's the same for many campaigns. However, the way in which we drive this excitement is a wide open playing field. The music industry is one example, but it's not the only place we can borrow from to learn about driving engagement through excitement. Sports, food, fashion are all great places to look for inspiration. The community we built with our music is incredibly important to me, but it's also undoubtedly unique. Our fans not only support the music, but continuously teach me how to be a better movement builder, a better academic, and a better activist. That night in Salt Lake City inspired an idea, but we're all just getting started. As we embark on the most pivotal time our species has seen on this planet, it's our duty, all of our duty, to support each other and the planet by building and climbing this ladder together. Thank you.